that. I feel like we definitely get the views and the watch after, we record and post this up. But for those who do join us live, we certainly appreciate it. We try to read and get to the comments as they come in and definitely make it a part of the show. So continue and let's get started.
Above average black men. Welcome to the show. The title of today's show is The Power of Forgiveness. It's for you. So how I came up with that topic is, and that was all the way I do a poll, but I'll get to that. The topic is simple because there's a lot of people out there who just don't know how to forgive.
I mean, they don't know myself included in some situations.
They hold on to it. But most of the time, probably 99.9% of the time, you're the only one that's upset. The person who you won't forgive is living their life. They just going on, man. And you carrying this thing around and it's weighing you down because when you think about it, you get pissed off. When you think about it, you get frustrated. You kind of had this albatross that you carrying around because you upset. So when you forgive somebody, it's not so much about them, it's for you too. It takes a burden off of you too. And I think the big misconception around forgiveness is we think we forgive somebody, we're letting them off the hook, and we're not. We're not saying that that's okay what you did. Not by any means. What we're saying is, okay, I recognize what you did, and I forgive you. Now, be as wise as a serpent, as harmless as a dove. The Bible tells us that. You don't go back and let them smack you again, but you just got to move on. Like I know people who haven't forgiven dead relatives. The father did something 40 years ago, and they're carrying this torch around. And at some point, you got to let it go.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more people in society that are probably less forgiving. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, sometimes myself included. I think one thing that, you find it hard sometimes is and I've done it. You say you can forget or forgive, but then it's like you don't necessarily forget. And then sometimes you get right back in that space of thinking of how this person has done you wrong. And in some cases, it may be a situation where you don't have ties to that person. You don't see him again. You go about your merry way. But, what about those instances for people who may play a significant role in your life, and you find it hard to forgive that person? You probably see it in marriages a lot more today where people are separating because of some type of thing that has happened, caused a strain, and they can't move past to forgive.
Well, see, I think a lot of times you choose not to move past. I'm not saying you wake up the next day and, man, everything is fine. No, it sometimes when you get hurt, it takes some time to heal. But what I am saying is you're never going to heal if you don't let it go. For instance, if Devin did something to me and every time something happened, I keep bringing it up, I'm never going to get over it. If every time something happened, remember this, I'm never going to get over it. I got to begin to let it go. I got to begin to say, you know what? It happened. I can't go back in time and change it, but I can change me. I cannot be bitter. I cannot allow it to make me to the point where I'm upset all the time. I'm frustrated all the time. Or whenever I hear his name or I see him, we got to move beyond that. But I do agree with you that and I never took this larger poll, but I agree with you. Probably 60% of society doesn't know how to forgive. I think there's a lot of people walk around, not just marriages, see all the murders and stuff we see in the streets.
You just say it, and nobody really means it or knows how to move past it. And I guess I keep bringing up the part of, you can simply say that you forgive, but all right, what are some ways in which you can actually do it? Because again, I find myself in the past saying I forget this person, and you start thinking about all the things that were said or done, and you're just maybe I shouldn't forget this person. Maybe I don't want to. Is there ever an instance where you feel like it's okay to just be I'm not forgiving this person. They crossed all lines, all boundaries.
See, I don't think there's ever an instance. I think, now I didn't say you let them back in your life. I'm not saying that y'all become best buds again. But what I am saying is, just listen to what you said. When you think about it, what it does to you, not to the person, it's doing it to you. So you're the one going through all the frustration, and that person now 10 times done moved on.
So
they don't know you going through all that.
We're talking about it in the sense of just forgiving them without actively saying it to them.
Well, see, I think
I
give you the perfect example. We had our men's group, and I was so impressed with this. We had our men's group on Saturday, and I'm not going to say names or anything. So, and one of the guys brought up that he really felt like he needed to go back. He's married now. Everybody's happy. Go back to his ex-wife and apologize to her because he wasn't the husband he should have been to her. He felt like there's something I see look on your face,
like,
but he felt like there's something and I was really thoroughly impressed with that because he wanted to bring closure.
Closer to what?
His whole thing because
he's married.
But he still he needed. There was a part of him that felt like that he knew he was wrong, that he knew he caused this person a lot of pain, and he just wanted to go back and let her know that he recognizes that he was wrong.
And did he ask for forgiveness?
Well, he wanted to, but that's a whole different story because he's married now, and they're trying to.
That's what I'm saying. That's a little complicated.
No, but I understand how he feels. I understand exactly how he feels. You want to set the record. Not everybody, but most people like me. I do. I don't want to walk around carrying a grudge, mad at somebody, because first of all, it's messing up who I'm trying to be. But second of all, I don't gain anything out of it. I just add frustration to my life, especially if every time I think about it, I get upset. Or every time something happens, I'm going back there again. That's not letting it go. Every time something happens, you go remember when. That ain't letting it go. That's the first thing. Sometimes and it's a day by day thing. Sometimes you gotta say, what, I'm gonna put this behind me. I'm gonna move on.
It's hard to let go because that definitely takes being the bigger person.
And what's wrong with that?
In my opinion.
What's wrong with that?
Second, it's like human nature is I'm petty and I
no.
I won't forget even if you say you could try to move on or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm still upset about it. I'm just not gonna forget it. And if I don't forget it, then
it does. Or sometimes it bubble up, and I think the unfortunate part, even thinking about that in a grander scheme, is that people carry that on. If we're speaking about relationships, carry that on to the next relationship. Sometimes.
Bingo! I was just about to put it. That's why people never, but that's why some people struggle when they in the second and third and fourth, fifth, sixth relationships because they haven't let it go. And every time something happens, that becomes the reference point. Every time something happened, that's what she or he did. It could be 20 years ago. And you misinterpreted what I'm saying. You could forgive somebody and just move on, not carry that boulder around in your back pocket. I didn't say you totally exonerate them from it. I didn't say that, you did this and I'm giving you a free. I'm not. I'm just simply saying, you know what? I forgive you because for me it's over and done with. Now, I'm not going to give you another chance to do this to me again. That's a whole different story, but it's over and done with. I'm not going to sit around and say, hey, man, this happened to me 20 years ago. And here we are 20 years later. I'm still upset about it. I'm still dealing with it. That person is going on, living their life, and I'm the one walking around carrying the boulder around my neck. I got the millstone. I'm weighing myself down. I'm emotional distraught now. And I'm in a new relationship, trying to be a new relationship, and I'm still dealing with the old baggage. So that's another reason why you can't keep carrying this stuff with you because it'll go everywhere you go. It's like people, my least favorite thing. I know you experienced it on my last job. Well, this is the way we've always done it. It's the same thing. Let it go.
I hate
it. Let it go. Because apparently, is a reason why you're not at your last job.
Yeah. It's just, what, though? Do you feel as though, are there things that are unforgivable? Are there lines that can be crossed and just it's no turning back from that?
But I can't answer the unique thing about forgiveness.
You put your hands on me, it's a wrap.
But the unique thing about forgiveness is different for everybody. And I think that's the one thing I think people are wrong when they try to sit back and try to tell people what they need to do. So everybody has a different thing, a different tolerance level. Everybody has something that's just the breaking point. We all do. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is for me, on my belief system, especially if you are a Christian or follower of Christ, you got to learn to forgive, man, because you figure, my spiritual, God forgive us no matter how dumb and stupid we are. No matter what we've done, no matter what we did or what we will do, he forgives us.
Well, Rick Ross would say, God forgives and I don't.
And Rick, that's why Rick Ross, people like that deal with so many demons, man, because you carry it around. Lack of forgiveness sometimes create lack of trust. Because now you carry it because somebody hurt you. Now you're in another relationship and you don't trust them. Because you never dealt with the hurt from the past relationship. So this is someone who's giving you their all. And you just can't because you're dealing with some crap from the past who probably moved on to a whole nother relationship. Lack of forgiveness sometimes blinds you to what's right in front of you because you so busy dealing with the past, whatever you're dealing with, you don't recognize what you got in front of you.
But I even think that makes it hard sometimes. You're talking about like forgiving somebody who doesn't even care. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's not. That's why we said it's not for them.
Care about.
It's not for them. It's for you because you can't make them care. But if you, that's even worse. If you know they don't care and you still carrying around a grudge, you still upset, you still frustrated, you still.
I mean, I guess I'm looking at it as like, I wouldn't give the person the satisfaction of even letting them know, like, I forget. Like, just letting them know, like, hey, I know, don't cross me again. Like, I feel like that's how I look at it. It's like, like, yes, no, that it has not been forgiven. Like,
you can forget, and sometimes you just got to say, it's over and done. Nothing I can do about it. And now I got to make a decision. Do I let this continuously be this millstone around my neck, or do I move on? I know what happened. I'm not going to let it happen again. It wounded me, but I got to move beyond it. Because I don't want to carry this in any new relationship I get into. I don't want to take that baggage onto a new job, a new career I'm trying to do. I don't want to cast it on to my kids. Because my daddy hurt me, so now I'm going to hurt my kids. There's so many dynamics in this thing that I think people don't look at.
I think that's what I'm thinking about too. Like just the different scenarios that you either read or you hear about. Like there's people who've been scammed out of millions of dollars. There's people who like they lost loved ones, or like just vicious stories that you hear, like just cold killers almost. Like and some of those circumstances or situations, like I can't find myself to be like.
This is why I said it depends on the individual, because there's people out there who stood up in courtrooms.
I know.
I don't know if I can do it, so don't. I'm not saying. But there's people who stood up in courtrooms and said, "Judge, I forgive you because I forgive him." There's from all kind of what we may consider an atrocious crime. Yeah. So that's what I said. You can't determine what somebody's threshold is. But that's like me saying, "Oh, don't be hurt by that." I can't control that because what hurts you may not mean that much to me, but it's important to you. But what I'm saying is each individual need to check that because, that's why we have now society now because, you do anything wrong, I'm going to kill you. You do anything wrong, so that's part of the problem, man. In some of the smallest stuff, we retaliate. And why? Because we can't forgive.
I mean, but if you knew that somebody wasn't going to forgive you or something, would you think that you might have a different mentality a little bit? Like if I knew that, like, man, if I cross this line with this person, like in a relationship, if I know that like cheating or whatever, like that's a no, like there ain't no coming back from that. It makes you think about it. If I was like, no, I know there's no forgiveness from that. Some people don't care.
I didn't say take them back. I didn't say take them back. That's not what I said. But most people who've never forgiven the past person, and I look at relationships, they carry that baggage to the next relationship. The next relationship, if she's 5 minutes late, where you been? He 10 minutes late, where you been? I never forget there's a guy I was dealing with, and he was in a situation where he and his wife kind of had, a misstep, falling out, and he was talking to somebody, she was talking, nothing happened, but they both were so screwed up that he writing down the mileage on the car, so you know how far I go to work back and forth. Yeah,
the gas is at 3/4 tank. You got it back here.
No, the mileage. It takes you 10 miles to get back. That she was doing because they never sat down and really talked. They never sat down and said, okay, how do we move beyond this? And if you don't solve something, it doesn't go away. You learn how to hide it, you learn how to deal with it, but that's not dealing with the situation. So a lot of times you don't forgive, you carry that. It's like it's the same thing. I laugh and joke, and there's certain people who if I saw today now, and that's why I can relate to Michael Jordan's story. Who I saw today now, let's lace him up because I remember, man, and you'll probably feel the same way. You get certain people that just bring out that competitive thing in you.
I just know they can't check me.
They do. They bring out the competitive thing in you. So think about that. If that's you can't forgive somebody every time you see them, these emotions coming up. It's not healthy. It's not healthy, and you should be able to say at some point in time, I use another example. My thesis on absentee dads who death, abandonment, and incarceration. I've interviewed over 2,500 people, women, family, whatever, to get to the point. There's a lot of people in there, man, who are screwing up as dads because of what their dad did.
Yeah. I mean,
because I'm mad at my dad, so now you take it out on your kids, or you take it out on your wife, or you take it out on your husband. So that
I think the idea in talking about fighting forgiveness is one, like, what are the steps even that you would take to do that? Because I think that's we mentioned in reference. It's like, man, how do you go about it? It's not simply just saying like I forgive you and it's over. Like you still have these thoughts.
It's work. I said that at the beginning of the conversation.
Don't disappear just because you said it.
It's not. I said that at the beginning of the conversation. It's not going to just go away. But first, it starts with a decision. This is what I'm going to do. Doesn't mean you're going to feel the same way about it every day. Doesn't mean that but the decision is I'm going to do this. It's like anything else. If you decide you're going to do it, you're going to stick to it, or you're going to try to stick to it. Versus I'm going to try whatever I'm going to do is what you got to tell yourself. And yeah, there's going to be days when you may not feel like forgiving. There's going to be days when you may be hurt. But daily, as long as you keep trying, it gets better and better and better. So the first thing is you got to say, I'm making my mind up. The second thing is and this is where people get screwed up at. Most people find it hard to forgive. Worry about what other people think. They get caught up in some cases. What I mean by that is they do. A lot of people, when they hurt and wounded,
you think you look silly to somebody else. If you're like, I forgave him.
Not just somebody else, but the average person. Like, man, I can't believe she put me through it. I can't believe he put me through this. Man, if somebody knew, and you feel bad.
We're saying I couldn't forget that.
Yeah, you forget. Yeah,
you
and
did?
Especially a lot of people make it a community conversation now because they go tell everybody.
Yeah.
So that's another key ingredient. So then the second thing that I think is really, I just sidebar put out there that's really important. Daily you got to try. I'm gonna get up today, and today I'm gonna try to focus on something else. I may fall short, but every day I'm going to try to focus on something else. I'm not going to focus on what this person did. I'm going to try to find something else to focus on. Maybe it's your writing. Maybe it's going to the gym. Every day I got to find something to replace this thing that I'm focused on this thing. Yeah. It's a daily thing. And then you got to accept that some days it's not going to be all that cool.
And I think that is probably key, a key conversation point to have. It's just like, it's not going to take place in a day. There may be some days where, it's not even going to cross your mind. But then one day it might be that one little thing that triggers you.
Commercial, like, perfume, walking the mall.
And it just like sends you there. But then that's almost just a test of, do you really forgive that person?
But that's when you got to tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to draw this out all day. I'm walking the mall. Maybe Shay has some perfume that you gave her and you smell the perfume and you think about it. You know what? I'm going to get out of my head as quickly as possible. I'm not going to let this become something that's going to go on. The third thing is you got to stop talking about it. The more you talk about it, the more it gets embedded in your head. You got to start. Sometimes when somebody do something to us, we tell anybody that listens, we tell, and we keep talking. And every time we talk about it, you relive
why not
it.
Sometimes that like minimizes.
You relive it.
If you keep talking.
No,
about
it don't. You relive it.
Vent about it.
There's a difference between
to go see a therapist and talk about it.
There's a difference between venting and talking about it continuously and constantly to each and every. There's a difference.
It's like maybe
there's a difference
7th time.
There's a difference going to a confidant and saying, "Yo, this is what I'm going through," than everybody you see. That's different because you're never going to get rid of it that way. It's never going to go away. You're always going to be dealing because every time you talk about it, you recreate it in your mind.
I don't know. Like I almost feel like the opposite of that. Sometimes
you know that ain't true.
Yeah,
not over and
talk
about
it.
Yeah, but you can get, but not over and over. You're not getting out your mind of if you talk about everybody you see. No, you're not.
It's like all right, this story.
No. You don't. Man,
sometimes the more you say it,
the less emotional you get about it. You hear yourself.
And that you feed that though.
You hear
the more you say that angry you get. You don't hear yourself angry. Yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Yes,
not
you do.
necessarily.
If
I keep saying it, it's like this the 5th time I told this story.
It's like
I've been in that situation.
It's like
and then I laugh by the 5th or 6th time. Like that's funny.
It's like growing up. Yeah, but you know what? You still hear it in your. It's like growing up. There's people who there's guys I grew up with. We just didn't get along for that reason. And funny stories. One guy that we just never got along, man. And he used to hang out with a bunch of guys, and every time he was with them and I was by myself, he always tried to start something. So fast forward later, grown now, y'all were little kids. I'm walking the supermarket, I see him. I'm ready to get him. I take a step back like, yo, this over with. It was 20 years ago. I was like, so we do relive stuff, and I do agree everybody reacts differently, but you got to put it to bed, because the more you talk about it, everybody I see, I'm having this conversation over and over. I'm reliving it in my head. I'm bringing it back. How do you ever forget something that you keep talking about?
Because I'll share my story of the egging. You know, I had a situation, just like an argument that led to me getting hit by an egg by my ex. And because in that moment, I'm livid. I'm like, what is going on? But then I had the conversation with you. I had the conversation with Devin. By the time I got to Justin and I'm talking to him about it, it's like, wow, this is, I know for me personally, I'm like laughing at it. It's like, this is laughing. I can't believe this actually happened. And to me, it like helped to just kind of say it that many times and just like, in a way, kind of minimize it.
Just because you laugh at something does not mean
I'm minimizing.
No, what I'm saying is just because you minimize something or you begin to find it humorous doesn't mean it's put to bed. It doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that you look at it a little differently. But there's some crazy people who laugh before they do crazy stuff.
Yeah, but in my mind, like, you trying to call me crazy?
I'm just saying. So I'm just saying, laughter ain't exactly, because there's folk out there.
But I'm just saying, in my mind, again, that helps me to like. It probably did help me to relive it and minimize it in my mind, to just be like, wow, yeah, that was crazy. Man, it wasn't probably anything that I could necessarily do to change the outcome of that situation. But it was just like, it made it easier. I looked back, laughed at it, moved on. Instead of being like, I'm just keeping it to myself, thinking about it, festering like,
I counsel couples and I talk to people.
She don't cook no eggs.
I counsel couples and I talk to people. And I've seen so many people, when they start telling a story, they get angry. They get angry. And luckily they tell them to somebody that's not telling them to go get revenge or feeding that anger. But there's a lot of people who relive stories. You'll hear people talk about something their father did 40 years ago. And when they talk about it, they'll get emotional. They'll cry. They'll do something. There's people who can't look at a movie because something comes up in the movie and it brings the rage. Like, I'm like that. I cannot sit there and look at movies about slavery and all kind of injustice and stuff, because it pisses me off. Mm-hmm. It makes me angry. I cannot be in a conversation with somebody. It's funny because, not angry, it frustrated me because Martin Luther King's Day. And I was having a conversation with somebody about, I still think there's a lot of people who don't understand the significance of Martin Luther King's Day. So it was brought to my attention that somebody said, a Caucasian person didn't understand why it was a day off and all that. And they said it's the same as Juneteenth. That irked me. Mm-hmm. And the person don't know I know, but every time I see him in the back of my head, you don't even understand our culture. So how much of what you're saying to me, how much is that true? Yeah. Are you trying to appease me? Or and so those little things pop in my head. Now, the person never said it to me. Actually said it to another white person, which kind of made it interesting. But but that bothered me. And if I keep talking about it, if I'm talking to somebody, it bothers me more.
But you know what, though? I think is like a key part of the story that I told, and you kind of mentioned this or alluded to this before, is who you are talking to.
Yeah, that's true, too.
Certainly matters. Like I mentioned Devin, I mentioned you and Justin, like 3 people that I feel like one can challenge me. You actively listen.
And I'm sure Justin told a joke.
I'm sure Justin is comedian. I'm sure he's repeating. It's like, wait, what? Say that again. Like allowing for me to kind of be vulnerable in that sense and seeing the humor and taking a step back in it. Like I really think it matters who I spoke to in those situations that helped me get through it and get to a place where I can come out on the other side.
And let me add this to it, because what you said makes sense. Is also, why are you saying it? Now, if you're saying it because you really believe it's therapeutic, but if you're saying it because you just want to keep saying
just want to vent, yeah,
because you just that's another thing. Because and then at least you just said it. You dealt with it each time you talked about it. Some folk just talk about they never deal with it. They never deal with the situation. It's always they're so busy trying to figure out whose fault it is, instead of saying at this point it doesn't matter whose fault it is. How can I move beyond this? I don't want to be in another relationship. Now, if you came to me and said that, you can't eat eggs anymore, you don't want to date a girl with eggs in the refrigerator, that's a problem. No, I'm saying I'm not dating a girl with eggs in the refrigerator. That's an issue. That's an issue. Or if you're in a restaurant and you freak out every time they walk into your table with eggs.
Put the eggs out, please.
But I think forgiveness is something that we really need to talk about more and more and more, because without it, you can't move forward. I give you a perfect example. I bring it to race. There's a lot of Caucasians who are really angry with themselves, and they can't forgive themselves. So therefore, it becomes this big issue. It becomes every time somebody talks about it, you blaming me. Nobody blaming you. You weren't even alive since then. But that's what happens when you deal with stuff like that. You begin to internalize some things, and things that's not really applicable to you can become applicable to you because you're dealing with a guilt. And because typically forgiveness and guilt kind of go hand in hand. Because then you question yourself sometimes. You do. Why I can't forget this person? You do. You ask that question sometimes. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. All these other emotions come out of this thing. So just why don't you just forgive it and move on? And I'm not saying go back and give them a round two. I'm not saying you gotta smile at it, but let it go. People walk around hating each other, man. And life expectancy is between 76 and 76, 78 years old now. How much of the time you gonna waste?
I think another thing, just a part of my story too, is like I found it a little bit hard to forgive at a point in time because it felt like somebody put you in a place that you're not used to being in.
And I've been there. I've been there before.
Disrespecting me.
And then making me like react in a way where, don't necessarily want to react. I think that also is another thing was like, wow, when somebody takes you outside of your normal realm of things, like it really is hard to like
and I get that, but that's also life.
Yeah.
There's going to be, if you go through your whole life,
and who it comes from matters.
If you go through your whole life and only one thing happened to you, if only one thing happens to you that threatens taking you outside of your realm, that's pretty cool. Think about it. There's going to be multiple times in your life, man, where people will have an opportunity to take you outside, take you somewhere different, take you outside your comfort zone. You got to learn how to manage it.
Yeah.
This sounds crazy, but that was my responsibility. If I continuously let people take me there, that means I'm not controlling some emotions.
Like another thing though too is like it's more easy for me to forgive probably somebody that I feel like I probably don't even know like that.
Yeah, because
when it's somebody that you know, they in your home, they in your camp, they in your circle. It's like I think that makes it that much more difficult to just be like, deeper. Yeah.
But see, and this goes back to now. I flipped my psychiatrist head over to the other side. Did you really know that? And I say that because a lot of times we think we know people. And that's the part that probably hurts. I was about to say that. A lot of times we think we know people, but until you experience every situation with a person, you don't know how to react. It's like when I hear people say, man, if this happened, I would do that. You don't know. Or it's like I use football as a perfect example. This big whole thing about Jalen Hurts and all this stuff, and all of a sudden he can't read defenses in 1 year, which is dumb and idiotic. It's easy for you to sit there and say, do this. Hey, 300-pound lineman ain't trying to rip your head off. You sitting home in your living room. Mm-hmm. You got a chance to see all this stuff. He's not seeing what you see. He doesn't have the eyes on top of the field. So he goes, no, I can't believe he didn't see the open receiver. Yo, if you're running for your life.
That's why they don't need the VR headset.
So I'm just saying, but it's easy for somebody to sit here and say, oh, I would do this, I would do that. It's like, I use the same analogy. You playing basketball. I never forget playing basketball, and we were playing against Niagara. And we were down 3, with like 7 seconds to go. And I get it still, I go down, and I was trying to get the foul, but the guy wasn't fouling me fast, so I went on and made the basket because the guy was, he was, and I didn't want to waste the time. So, they get the ball in, game over. And so this guy walks up to me, man, you should have just jumped backwards into the guy. Dude, that's an offensive foul.
Not back then.
Yes, it was. That was an offensive foul. You could stop, but you couldn't jump back into the guy. You could lean into the guy, but you couldn't physically jump back in because that is an offensive foul. And they will call. It's like even because I had it happen to me before. If the guy's behind you and you trying to get it, and he's clearly not on your back, and you jump back, that could be an offensive foul. It depends on the official. Mm-hmm. Dude, you sitting up there in the stands. So you seeing me and him, so you can kind of calculate this. I don't know where this dude is behind me. I know I'm trying to slow down, and he ain't catching me. So that's my point. People who are not in your situation will always have an opinion, but you're the one that got to deal with it. You're the one that got to say, look, hey, and you don't know as much as you think we know about some people. There's some people who lay it on the table, and there's some people who don't. Like, how many people you know what it's like when they get angry? You don't know until you get in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many people you know gonna come out and tell you, well, I'm just super jealous, in this relationship, man. No, but when you get in a relationship, you find out.
Before you go into it, like
So you do find those things. So this goes back to what I'm saying. You're right. That's the part that hurts because you think you know somebody, and when you think you know somebody and they do something outside of that realm, it hurts.
yes.
But on the same token, what does it profit you not to forgive? What do you gain by not forgiving? That's my question. What do you gain?
Resilience.
What resilience? How many people gonna hurt you? How many resilience?
Resilience, tough skin.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Now, is there such a thing as being too forgiving?
I do think that. You want to know why?
Why do you think it's too forgiving?
Because I look at this almost from a business standpoint. I understand we're talking about just relationships and like people in the general sense, but like,
what all areas of life we talking about?
Yeah, I mean, but for me, when I think of in some cases, like in business, there is no forgiveness. There is no turning back. Like you're axed. If you make such an egregious mistake, then there is nobody that's just like you might have a little grace period, but if it's that bad, no, you're gone. It is no looking back. Like, you know what? Let's bring them back next time. Give them a go. It's like you have that stain on you.
Or politicians in general, say like they didn't do something right the first time, or they may have said something.
Well, you can't use politicians because we still vote for them, man. They
come back.
They come with a new story 4 years later, man, and we pull the lever, man.
But you see, I'm just saying, like, and that mentality too. Like, I don't know. I find it sometimes where you don't forgive all the time, and part of me feels like,
but I do.
That's okay.
It took work for me to get here, but I do. I don't hold grudges because it's not worth my time.
Not necessarily holding a grudge, but it's just like you made the choice.
There's nobody who I would say I have not forgiven. There's now I'm not saying you let them back in your life to do some of the same stuff. I'm not saying you walk around high-fiving each other when you see each other. No, but there's nobody that I can say I've not forgiven. And I think it's important because I don't do it for them. I do it for me. I do it for me because I want peace. I don't want to be laying down thinking about what somebody did to me, coming back, pissing me off. I definitely don't want to interfere in relationships. Like, I've been with your mom 39 years, man. I don't want to bring crap in that happened before that into the relationship. You don't. Even, I love my mom and dad to death. There's things that occurred in my family, that I didn't bring into my relationship because I didn't want to pass it on. At some point, because there's always going to be somebody who's going to do something you don't agree with. So that's another thing. I'm not saying you, but there's some people, they get mad over, they go because, could you co-sign for me? No. Dude, your credit score is lower than the ERA. Somebody's ERA in baseball. But that person is upset. So, I mean, there's so many things now that we do, that we really got to let go of.
Again, in my mind, I just like, I'm trying to, there are situations where it's like, I know I'm like that, where it's like, all right, especially again, business-wise, if I feel like you've made enough of a mistake, I'm like,
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm curious. What's too forgiving?
I do feel like a relief sometimes it's circumstantial. Again, just in my mind of recent events I'm thinking about in business. Like, you have times or opportunities where somebody makes a mistake, you let them know about it. You go give them that like verbal warning. Boom, they do it again. All right. Now it's like you give them the written warning. And then at some point in time, it's like either you're willfully just not taking heed to what's being said, or is it just so you're not confident enough?
But at what point? I get it. But what point do you think you've been too forgiving?
At what point do I think I've been too forgiving? If you make such an egregious mistake where it's like, again, we've talked about this. You know how I feel about this. Yeah. Like, I think that's where it's like, okay, you're taking a chance or that liberty to just do whatever you want in disregard of me. So it's like, you know what? I don't have to forgive you. If you already know, like, this is a line to not cross, and you take that liberty to do that, it's like, oh, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I feel like there's people who like may be a little
bit take advantage of
it. Yes. Right. If you're too forgiving, like people take advantage of that, just feel like they can run all over you and that, they can do whatever they want to do and you'll be back. I'll be back. I think that's an issue with being too forgiving.
But you can make it clear. You can make it clear to somebody that this is it.
Life is choices and consequences.
I agree.
You taught me that.
I agree. You know,
what is the consequence if
from the
that
from the
person
business
messes
from
up?
the business side of things?
Just
from
talking.
the business side of things, I understand what you're talking about, because I say it all the time: it's either skill or will. Either they don't have the skill, they don't have the will to do it. So I don't disagree with you. But if that person does not have the will, I'm not going to let the person get me up to the point where, there's a situation, we talked about it, and there's a guy that they end up letting go. And I bent over backwards to try to assist him to get stuff together. And I think it was a combination of skill and will. But I think because he lacked skill, he didn't necessarily have the will. If you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think every time he tried, it didn't work out, he would just not try. However, I'm not mad at him. Yeah, do I feel like, okay, yeah, maybe I kind of gave him a few too many chances? Yeah. But I'm not mad at him. I wish him the best. And I hope he figures out, dude, you need to figure out, first of all, you're too old to be in this little space in your life right now. But if you're trying to accomplish things and you want to improve your life, you got to figure it out. But I'm not mad at him because that's his choices. He has to live with his choices. Choice and consequences, that's what he has to deal with. Mm-hmm. But he can never honestly say I didn't give him every opportunity. But I'm not mad, Do I feel like, man, you kind of made me look bad? Yeah, but I'm not mad at him. But I wish him the best. I'm not gonna allow him to, because to me, if I allow him to make me angry, I now give him control, and I refuse to do that.
A point to make too is just because I don't forgive you don't mean I'm mad at you. It's just like I feel like
if you ain't forgiving somebody, it's something there. I'm not saying you gonna run him over with a car or something, but if you're not forgiving somebody, it's something
I'm not going to deal with that person or tolerate them back in my life at the level of which they were before.
See, that's the mistake about forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean you let them back in your life, man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Forgiveness just means that, you created this offense. Guess what? We not gonna be friends with it, but I'm not gonna stay and dwell on it. I'm not gonna walk around hating you or harboring ill feelings. But we're not cool. Forgiveness is not saying, okay, you give them a second and third chance. That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is saying whatever offense you did, I'm not going to dwell anymore. You cool, you got that. See you later, peace. You're not getting a second chance. And I think, and that's forgiveness. Now, I think it's different in the situation. It depends on what the crime is because, some people just, they don't. I mean, I look at business, and we talk about the business aspect. And today I had to remind myself today, man, that some people just, see you were raised that way because you want things. You're motivated. You're motivated to do things, right? Uh-huh. So that kind of drives you. That's your engine. But I had to come to a place to realize there's a lot of people who are amotivational. They lack motivation. So I can't be mad at them because that's who they are. Yeah, I think you should want more, but I'm not going to let them make me angry because now, I'm going into their world, and it's not worth it. I'm not going to give them that kind of power over me. You get a little frustrated because I'm not saying you don't get, because you do get frustrated. That's human nature. You just said it earlier. But I can choose if I'm going to be petty about it. I can choose if I'm going to allow this to go on and linger and linger and linger. I can choose that. That I do have a choice over. I can choose if I'm going to be 5 weeks out, and I know you're not saying this, but I'm going to be 5 weeks out, and I'm still going to be pissed off or angry every time I see somebody. I get to choose that. And the minute you give somebody that power, you give somebody control over you. And I refuse to do that.
So do you ever think there is an instance or situation where somebody cannot be forgiven?
I don't know, because like I said, it's different. Like I would, for instance, as a Christian, and some people ask me this question. I couldn't sit here and tell you if somebody hurt one of y'all that I would be sitting there talking about forgiveness. I'm just saying, I couldn't say that. I would like to think I could. I would like to think I would be able to. I do, but I don't know that. So when I hear people say that, man, people just, you don't know what you would do in that situation. I would like to think I would do the right thing, but I'm sure there's millions of people out there who got in situations and thought they were going to do the right thing until the situation happened. All of a sudden, you didn't do the right thing. So I can't say, but I'm saying everybody needs to start thinking about, who's that person that you need to forgive, man? That your life is messed up because of it. Who's that person, man, that you're harboring these ill feelings against, man? And this is impacting you more than anybody else. So it's impacting your relationship. You need to think about, how can I get rid of this burden? I'm not saying you invite the person over, but how can I get rid of this burden? Because it's not for you. I mean, it's not for them. It's for you. It's to help you feel better. It's to help you move on. It's to help you do some cleansing. And you need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, part of me feels or thinks it's like, some things are in moderation.
Well, that makes you.
Some people deserve it. Some people don't.
Do you think if you forgive somebody, you think that's a sign of weakness?
Ooh,
I'm asking. I'm not saying you do. You don't. I'm just curious.
That is a great question, and I the reason I'm kind of
do you,
Devin?
In a way,
you think it's a sign of weakness?
Why do you think it's a sign of weakness?
It depends to me.
I feel like it definitely does depend on the circumstance, but in a way, it just makes me feel like I have to be the one to take that first step, even though I wasn't wrong, even though I was the one that did wrong, it just makes me feel like, oh, I gotta forgive this person just because they did me wrong.
I think it was Shannon Sharp that I heard say, or somebody with some Southern thing, like when Jesus said, "Turn the other cheek," he meant turn the other's cheek. Like I'm not at your neck.
Me too. I think that was.
But no, because it is.
I think that was Shannon.
It's tough. I do almost feel like it's situational. I do think again where I said it's like sometime in moderation. Like I do feel like there is such thing as being too forgiving.
Like if you get an apology, it's like, all right, I can forgive you. But me just outright being like, even though you did wrong, I'm still going to forgive you. It doesn't hit the same to me.
So let me ask you a question. Because do you think? I mean, and be honest. When you process it that way, are you thinking what somebody else may think? Do you think somebody else is thinking, man, maybe I'm giving them too many times, or I should do this, do that? Is that part of your process?
Now I just said it. I can see that a little bit.
I mean, I think a little, but no, not really. I personally, maybe that's something in me where it's just like,
no, I'm just
I
asking
can't
because
let this person get over on me.
When I was younger, and this is why I asked the question.
That's why.
When I was younger, I think about growing up.
Oh, you messed up now.
I think about growing up where I grew up at, and I think about how there were fights that I got into that I probably could have avoided. I got into them because I did worry about what everybody was going to think. People around me, how I was going to be perceived. I did. There's things I said that maybe I shouldn't have said that I regret saying because people were around me. And I didn't want to appear to be a certain way. Even when I first got into corporate America, I think I was a little rough sometimes on staff and stuff because people watching, or man, they heard what they said to me, so I got to come back loud. And, now as I'm older, I'm real, I don't have to. So that was a driving force for kind of some things I say. When people says, man, I don't know how you let that go. Okay, because you're not me. But for me to have that peace, I have to. The guy I was just talking about, I felt really bad when I had to let him go. And it wasn't my decision. Kind of felt, that's another perfect example. They made a decision when I wasn't there, then I had to carry it out. I'm not going to be mad at everybody because it was the right decision to make. I don't agree with how it was done, but me being angry and being frustrated and carrying grit doesn't fix anything. All it does is makes a toxic environment.
I mean, but
whether it's work, whether it's relationships, it makes a toxic environment.
I mean, part of me just also thinks of maybe another reason why I lean towards being unforgiving sometimes. And even again, just thinking as somebody who's an entrepreneur starting out running a business, it's like kind of how do you want to be seen? How do you want to be viewed or respected?
But that's my point. It goes back to what somebody else thinks. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I'm saying it.
No, I mean, to an extent,
that
does matter because if people have this perspective of they can do whatever they want, then they'll do it.
No, but it doesn't mean you have to let them. See, a perspective is almost like a non-fact. It's a theory. It's a theory. It's not real. It's just somebody's opinion. So I get what you're saying. I think people are more apt to try stuff if they think that you are, but it doesn't mean you have to be like that. It doesn't mean you have to be like this because they think that. It don't. That's not what.
I guess I get the disconnect. If I'm just knowing some people that I work with, and try to make things happen with, and they just always so forgiving of certain things, even regardless of how serious the offense may be. like that person that is giving that forgiveness is just like, all right, I can do whatever I want. Oh, this person, they gonna take me back in. Like, I think some people kind of take advantage of situations.
Hey,
like
Wayne,
that,
what's
you
up?
know?
I agree.
So
We talk about forgiveness, Wayne.
Like, I'm all for dropping the hammer. Like,
I agree that some people take advantage of the situation, but also, see, to me, I think I got to answer to me. First, foremost of all, I gotta be true to me. So I don't. In all honesty, I do think about people from the outside, you know. And okay, now I know I'm gonna have to deal with this again because the way they think this is being handled.
Yeah.
So, but I know how to deal with it next. I know how to cut it off. But I'm not going to take it on this person who's in front of me, you know, because I want to cut everybody else off at their knees. So I think, you know, that's another thing about forgiveness.
Somebody's going to have to be made an example of.
Yeah, but see, I don't agree with that. I know a lot of people do, and I hear it a lot. And
So
I think sometimes, you know, you may get pushed into that situation because it may be a trend developing amongst a group of people. But I think all too often we say it with the first person, regardless of what's happening. We just, we got to make sure everybody else understands this, you know, and why? You know, or you got to show people I'm tough because I'm not going to forgive somebody. Again, that hurts you. And then it also does because what happens is somebody who may really like you, but see that stoic side of you, see that staunch side of you, you know, and feel like, man, you know, I don't know because I maybe I'm not going to live up to this person's expectations. Is that how I'm going to be treated?
I will say sometimes it does come back where people think I can be mean. Where I don't think that's the case sometimes. I just feel like there are times where you have to take a hard stance.
Now, see, that I would agree with. But that's a difference from being unforgiveness. There are times when you got to say,
my stance sometimes is unforgiving.
But no, a stance and unforgiving is different. Sometimes, you know, you do have to say enough is enough. That I totally get that. But what I mean by unforgiveness is if 2 weeks after you take that stance and you still harbor those ill feelings, that's a problem. That's a problem. If you said this is the deal, this is the way it's going to be, and you were confident is what you were supposed to do, what you were supposed to say, you know what? You shouldn't be walking around 3 weeks later. Like, you know, you shouldn't. That's unforgiveness. They could, whatever they did that was atrocious or egregious, whatever you want to say, you know, let it go because you already took your stance. You already gave your whatever it is you want to do about it. Don't dwell on it. That's all I'm saying. You already did what you felt like you had to do. So why are we still walking around angry? You know, and it's the same thing in a relationship. And I hear you say about the eggs, you know, but you know what? But people know when they mess up a good thing. They do. They know when they mess up a good thing. And I'm not gonna say I guarantee.
They don't sometimes they make a mistake.
But that's it.
Mistake.
They know they mess up a good thing. Right? But this goes back to
what makes me more mad.
This is how unforgiveness gets in the way because I don't know, and this is totally speculation, but I'm pretty sure our friends probably kind of in that same pattern and what I would do, and her mindset, you know, not realizing she's dealing with a different type of dude. Again, because, you know, that's what happens when you don't forgive somebody. You go to the retaliation right away. You don't think about, you know, there's other ways to do this. You go right to retaliation. You go right to get even. You know, and that's the problem we have now because the first thing everybody's thinking about is how to get even, not how we can resolve this. Not is this relationship worth saving? You know what? So many more good things happen than a few bad things. We don't think like that.
But you know what else is funny too? Like, it's just something to think about or add in here is like nobody wants to forgive somebody without hearing an apology. You know what I mean? I forgive you,
and that's fine.
And they didn't even say sorry.
But that's where you're at. But I'm not there. I don't expect an apology. I don't. I'm past the apology point because some people don't even realize it, man. Some people, their pride get in the way, their ego. You know, there's so many reasons why people, you know, and I'll say this, you know, you may not heard the story, but you know, my sister and I, God rest her soul, you know, we went to that whole stretch, man, and I never forget how I said, you know what, and I was never angry at her. I wasn't. I just decided I just wasn't going to mess around anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't upset. I was just in a different place. And I never forget when I said, okay, you know, I'm going to call her. And I called her, left her a message, said, yo, you know, we need to get together, you know. And I said, I'm sorry. I didn't say sorry because I thought I was wrong. I said sorry because I figured let's build this back together. I had no idea she died that day. So I never got a chance to say that to her. I had no idea that. Then that later that night I got the call. So I'm saying, I'm glad I wasn't pissed off and angry and all that stuff, because I would have had to deal with that after the fact.
Yeah.
So you never know. And you're right. Everybody's not going to be that close, so every situation will be different, but you just don't know. You don't know when the last thing that conversation you have with somebody is based off of hate or retaliation. You don't know. The first, the second and third week of this year, or the first 2 weeks, as a matter of fact, I take it back. I went to 3 funerals.
So, question for you.
So you don't know. So when we harbor it around, man, and then again, as men of color, that's why we have ulcers and all hair loss and all kind of crazy stuff, man. Because we do harbor these feelings, man, and you got to deal with it.
You're not allowed to talk about them. That's why.
No, but see, that's another thing about unforgiveness, because I'm not going to talk about it, man. But the problem with it is sometimes we hard on ourselves than anybody else because we don't forgive ourselves.
I think actually, I don't know. We still got a couple more minutes here, but like, do you even think like? Not to necessarily make it a gender thing, but like even as men that, we may be a little bit more willing to, or like not forgive in certain circumstances, like cut people off in some senses, or is it opposite? Because I think I don't know.
That I don't know. I mean, I think kind of got to be a woman to say that.
No, just like
I'm a little biased.
For
I'm a little like I was talking to 4 women about this today, and they had the line in the sand, man. Like, yo, it's hard, But I also know with them, this goes my point. It's hard because of a history, not because of one thing, because of a history. And when you have a history of things that you don't forgive, you just ain't gonna on the 5th offense turn around and say I'm sorry, because you've already built that up. You're already keeping score. So that's what I'm saying. And I'm not, again, I want to repeat what I'm saying for people out there that's listening or whatever. I'm not saying that you make it okay for people to screw you up. What I'm saying is that sometimes you just got to move on and let it go. You can't dwell on it. You can't be waking up in the morning, going to sleep at night, wishing, cursing people, hoping they fall or the bad stuff happen to them. No, you got to let it go. And because one, to me, it says more about you than them. If you live in your life and you allow somebody to keep getting that much of your attention, and you pissed off years later. Two, it's not healthy. And part of this life is self-care. And life is precious, man. Come on. 76, 77 is like the average age. How much time do we waste? I did a eulogy at a funeral, and my subject was life. They don't talk about death, is life, man. This thing called life. I did the same thing. I used that topic when I spoke on the Sunday service in my class reunion. We were, because we don't appreciate life, and one of the things that hang us up in life is unforgiveness. We so caught up on not liking somebody, and it's just sucking time away, valuable time. It's interfering with our current relationship because I'm mad at so-and-so because she did me wrong, he did me wrong. So now I'm so busy frustrated in that I can't enjoy what I have in front of me.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's.
I think the one thing is, like you said, like a lack of forgiveness can definitely hinder future relationships and take away from. People being able to live in and enjoy the moment. I'm still in the fence because some people I'm like, wow, put that X down.
Yeah.
But again, I'm also thinking of like sometimes just having the business mindset.
Okay, I'm gonna
use y'all. I went to school for HR. Y'all think I'm sick for wanting to fire people, but it's part of the job. Like some people they deserve to go.
Yeah, but you know what? But they still deserve to have their dignity intact. I had this conversation with somebody today that I do believe you reach a point where you have to understand in our business and even in relationships where enough is enough. I do believe you reach that point where
enough is enough.
Well, you do. Well, you say enough is enough. But I also believe in how you conduct it. I think that's equally important. How you handle the situation. And I can't speak from somebody's perspective, no matter how crazy they do. How I handle the situation matters. And I also think, I can't let it get personal. Because I am not the job. I have a job. I am not the job. Even if people work for me as a contractor in my nonprofit, they're performing a service.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another thing. We make stuff personal, so it's easy to harbor unforgiveness. Everything is not personal. And then even in a relationship, to me, I think if you're in a relationship and somebody hurt you, they did something crazy, and this is going to sound really dumb, but just be thankful, man, that you saw it. That you found out.
Be thankful.
I'm serious. You found out.
But that's funny that you said that.
Found out that you ain't 5 years married and find out that somebody crazy.
And I was going to say thankful.
I'm not trying to be smart. I'm just saying.
But no, I understand what you're saying.
Be grateful that it was a hard lesson. And a lesson hurt.
A hard lesson.
But I learned.
Hard lesson learned. I think grateful.
But you're going to go through life.
Gratitude.
You're going to go through life and stuff is going to happen. And some stuff is going to happen that you can't control. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go through life because you got to figure out what you want to do. Are you going to be the kind of person that's going to let anybody in so you have to worry about somebody hurting you or letting you down? You'll keep everybody at odds in, hands left away, or you always be the suspicious person. Or what does Devin want? Devin's being nice to me today. He must want something. Or you're going to be the person that's going to enjoy life and say, okay, so I'm going to get some people in my life who are going to be worth letting in and some people who are not. I'm going to do my best to scrutinize and figure out who's who. But some people are going to slip through the crack. So now I got to figure out if I'm going to let Devin screw up every relationship I have after this. I got to make that decision.
Yeah, that's a great point and a nice way to look at it. I think, there's some takeaways from me here tonight.
And I didn't mean grateful like have a party. What I simply meant was
thank you so much.
But just
slapping me with that egg and letting me. No, but I understand what you're saying. Like,
but at least you found out.
Right. I guess you found out that it happened.
You weren't engaged.
Before
it
was
yeah. Well, you married everything. And you sitting there chilling,
and then you
think everything all right. This stuff come flying by your head.
You're right. I'd rather find that out early on than later on.
So I mean, it's kind of like to have the glass half empty, the glass half full.
I guess that's what I was saying in terms of, again, like speaking about the situation on multiple occasions with multiple people. I was able to see and hear different things and have a different approach of looking at it. And like even from you, kind of, I mean, even when you're saying being thankful, probably not in that moment, but painting that picture of like, man, this could be worse.
Because Wayne said something that you said. What do you mean depending on who you're dealing with? Because I think that's what these guys are saying about whether they deserve to be forgiven or not. So I don't know if you still hear me, Wayne.
It depends.
He said that, so I'm just curious.
I'm just curious. Good to see somebody out there agree with me. I'm not being crazy. He thinks I'm crazy.
I don't operate that way. But I will tell you, I didn't grow up like this. I had to grow into this.
Yeah, all right, and that's maybe
I had to grow into this. I didn't grow up with this mentality. I had to grow into it.
That's a good point to make. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm still growing.
Still working in process. I'm just saying. What I do realize the importance of it, man. I just think so. I see and I hear people all the time.
No, that's why we got 3 different generations here.
But I see and hear people all the time, and they're bitter about stuff, man. They can't control it, and it's making their life better. Mm-hmm. And you gotta enjoy life, man. I mean, that's one thing I learned because of the things that I've been through. But life is not promised, man. And who wants to leave here being angry at somebody? Who wants to be here, leave here with a grudge on somebody? Or the thing is, then the person died. Now you want to go to the funeral and say all this nice stuff. So I think to me, it's not worth it to be carrying around a lot of ill feelings and stuff, man. I mean, and I get it. It's easy for people to push your buttons. I gave example MLK Day. I give example. I'm talking to somebody and they ignorant to certain things and they act like that's a fact. I get it. So the worst thing you could do to me is insult my intelligence. I can take pretty much anything else. But if I think you purposely try to insult my intelligence, you think you're smarter than me, then that's something that I struggle with. But I learned to move on. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you wake up, I learned to move on. Because I do understand this. If you're going to be in business, or it depends on the arena you're in, you're going to come across people like that because that's people. That is people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're going to come across. So how much of my time am I going to waste? No, I'm not. I refuse to waste my time with people like that. I'm not going to give you the power to make me not forgive you because I'm not going to think about you. You ain't even worth. If you do this to me, you're not even worth me thinking about you. That's my philosophy. I ain't gonna walk around saying, "Man, this person." No, because I think it takes up too much time. It takes up too much energy. And there's other things. Don't you think you have enough stuff on your plate right now?
Again, I think that It's all dependent upon who it is that we're talking about. Like,
You
what's the
keep saying,
relationship
I'm waiting for Wayne to tell me what
the
he means by
relationship that you have with
what do you
that
mean?
person,
Explain to me
like-
depending upon. You keep saying, so you gave an example. So you saying is if it's somebody that you're in a relationship with, that's different than because I'm trying to figure out what's the difference in
there's a drastic difference if I felt like if would probably never happen where I feel like one of you guys did me wrong versus somebody else on the street, another friend. You know what I mean? Like I would be way more hurt because you guys are closer to me.
So, but
same thing in a relationship. Like if I felt like,
but as a father,
at a point in time,
as a father, when your kids do something and it hurts you, so
I'm a child.
But you forgive, you forgive and you move on because you realize that you're human. And a lot of times, and I'll say it because I felt like this with my dad, and if I reflect back on our times and times we had disagreements, it was more my own expectations that created that. That put me in a position where, because, a lot of times it is. A lot of times we don't forgive somebody, but your expectations create that situation. And because you want this person to be something they're not.
Family, those are some of the examples right there. Like there's certain people where
he covered up. Friends, women, nothing up but the dog and the cat.
It hurts a little bit more. If Roxy did something crazy to me, if my dog did something, I would be highly upset. But no, I think it does matter in a sense. Like it hurts a little bit more.
I stick by what I said. I stand by what I said before. I think this is an area that's really great because it's different for everybody.
Yeah,
everybody has a different threshold, and as I said before, I grew into where I am now, and I like to think it's because of spiritual maturity. I like to think because I don't hang around the same kind of people anymore, so it's kind of less likely. But there's still people and that I got to be careful of, that I got to keep an eye open about. I know that.
Yes.
I know that there's people who you can do stuff for over and over and over again, and the first time you say no will stab you in the back. But I have to make a decision if I'm going to give this person the power not to forget. And no, I'm just going to move on. I'm just telling you, you ain't going to get me again. I'll move on.
Yeah.
There's just no room for you in my inner circle. There's not.
Yeah, understood. I mean, that's definitely one of those things.
That's just where I go to.
I think it's something that has to be practiced. You definitely need to practice.
But I say first it starts in your mind. You have to be conscious about your decision and say, I forgive and I'm moving on. It can't be something that you say it, but you just don't. Every time something happens, you bring it up, and this is what I meant about talking about it. You just got to kind of, you got to make a conscious decision. The second thing about it is now you got to make an effort. You got to do something, man. Find something else to do. Whenever you start thinking like that, find something else to do to distract you. It's like the perfect example. I'm finishing up this fast. It's been hard. Part I give up, Devin left. TV was one of the things I gave up. TV, pasta.
You see our 70 ball.
TV, pasta, meat, chocolate, soda, bread, and it's been hard. But you know what? Whenever I get hungry, I start craving those things. I start reading. I put my into something else. I get tipped like Devin was watching the football game the other day. I wanted to see Wesley put up 70 points. Darn, and it came across my phone. Yeah, but so I had to distract myself. But it's the same thing. When you start having those feelings, you got to distract yourself. You got to find something else to do, man. Like you can't be upset because your girlfriend hurt you and you go watch a love story. Come on, you just firing the flame, man.
The Notebook.
Yeah. Or what's that thing?
One of the most toxic love stories of all time.
Or not even that. The thing where they killed love made me do it. They knocking off their partner. So you got to find something. To me, I read. I'll read my Bible. I got a bunch of books over there. I'm getting my library back together. Bring those books I got back there again. I'm rereading stuff. You got to.
Not a reader. Go to the gym. Do something.
Go to the gym. You were laughing. I do my 30-minute workout every day. You got to find something else to distract you.
I think that's a big part of it too.
Just walking in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you jog. You don't not jog.
Finding things,
you say what you want to say, but I
do.
I know compared to a lot of people my age, I'm in great shape.
Finding constructive things.
But that's my point. It's different. You got to
all right.
That bar right there.
Write
I got hand weight. That's enough for me.
I think just write about it. That was my
thing. There you go.
And that's really helped me.
But find your thing.
Get to that place of being able to be like, all right,
take that unforgiveness and be creative and write a story about it.
Yeah, I'm over it. Like,
there you go.
Like you said, grateful for the moment is a life lesson. You can kind of move on from there.
Wayne said
but
the same thing.
I still struggle with it,
Wayne said the same thing.
Being forgiven.
Going to the person he is today.
Being forgiven. I'm still growing.
Man, you too old for that. You better.
I'm still grown.
No, I'm gonna kid.
I'm still grown.
Maybe we need to do a part 2.
Maybe.
Because this is a great episode.
Y'all not changing. Part 2, we can do a part 8. And y'all still it'll be part 8. And y'all still be saying
I might be growing by that time. Like by the next time we talk about it, there might be some growth.
Part number 32. If we change our stance,
It might be some growth. You never know.
Y'all rough. They take after their mama on this part. They got this ain't me.
I mean, I think, like I said, I'm kind of circumstantial a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I am pretty forgiving. I think there are some things where it's just like, But then there are times where I'm just like, I can't believe you or this person. Or like, oh my gosh, like, what were you thinking? Obviously not about me, and that hurts. That, like, clearly somebody's making a selfish decision that much.
My goal is, and it's hard, my goal is to try to live a life of total peace. That's my goal. As I look at where I'm at in life, man, I say, man, I'm at this age of my life now, man, and it's not perfect because, things happen, man. I'm backing into the garage today, man, I hit the mirror on the thing, not paying attention, man. It just, oh, man, things happen. But I want peace. I'm not going to have peace when I'm walking around here mad at somebody. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have peace if I'm just walking around filled with unforgiveness. And I go, we can close on this. It's the same thing if people can't forget themselves. No, because I just realized, when you go to funerals, man, there's no coming back from that, man. No. And one funeral I went to, his name was Little. He was invincible growing up, man. This dude was like, invincible. And it's just a reminder, man, that it don't last forever.
Yeah, and life catches everybody.
It does, man. And it's not on your terms. Mm-hmm. So you got to control the things you can control, man, because when it's over, it's over. There's no overtime. There is no mulligan. No, when it's over, it's over. So how much of your time are you going to waste, man, not forgiving? People, I'm not coming to the funeral because of this or because of something somebody did. That's crazy.
Wasted time.
That's crazy. I'm not speaking to my son. I'm not speaking to my daughter. I'm not speaking to my parents. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Because you don't know. And then you go to funeral and boo-hoo like everybody else. Like, come on, man. Oh, I wish I would have said this. No. I'm not saying, again, you got to go back and allow them to do it again. But you can apologize. If you're listening right now, you can pick up the phone and say, I'm sorry. Because check this out. You can be right in attitude. Right in knowledge, but wrong in attitude. You can be right when it comes down to whatever the situation is. But if you handle it wrong, are you really right?
Just as wrong, right.
Yeah. So I think it's important, man, that we focus on how can we have stronger relationships with our kids, with our wives, with our children, friendships. How do we have those things? I've known Wayne since high school. I know Tommy since first grade. I know Isaac since kindergarten. There's a bunch of guys I've known for a long period of time. And one thing that I do say is, it wasn't always perfect between us. But I think, and I'll start here. I think if you had more dads that practice forgiving and that could teach forgiveness, we would have stronger families. I think we would, as Devin's watching Incredible Hulk get crushed by these little kids.
The video ended. But no, I do think, like, forgiveness is one of those things that it's not talked about. And we don't talk about, how to even do it. Like,
we talk about getting even.
We always talk about getting even, getting mine, get my
You want to take that?
Stand on business.
Stand on business.
I don't know those terms, so I'm in a good place.
We'll explain that one to you off here.
I don't want to know.
I think we had a great topic tonight. Like Devin said, I feel like we could dive into this on so many more levels here. And
why my kids don't forgive.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the topic. That's gonna be the topic of our show. Why my kids don't forgive.
Listen,
because I know Nicole. She the same way. Nicole like a pit bull, man.
It's situational.
She ain't letting it go.
I really do feel like it depends. It depends the day of the week.
And that's why I'm working on Mackenzie to be different.
Well, maybe it skips us and it gets right again. But hey, I don't see that happening. Yeah. But definitely thank you all for tuning in for another great episode and conversation here tonight. Make sure you're out here, empower, inspire, and uplift the community.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment.
Yes.
Interact with us. We're on all platforms, guys.
Shout out to Charles Abbey for tuning in. He stopped and waved at us and got out of here. Your boy Clifford, I'm assuming that's how you say that. Thank you for tuning in. Antoinette Nitti. I think I'm saying that right. Thank you too. And Mr. Wayne Lewis, thank you again for tuning in. And our Instagram family, we appreciate you guys.
Wayne, now we the same generation, man. Great minds think alike.
y'all are forgiving generation. we aren't there yet.
Oh man, we'll get these guys.
Take it easy, everybody.
Right, man. We'll see you guys next week, man. Hey, enjoy, man. I need to close that.
Deuces.